This did nobody ask, did nobody check him for no steroid? I said, he had quick hands, he would hit. I said, but why y'all ain't checking for steroids? He ain't checking steroids. And then,
you think he was on steroids?
Of course he was on steroids.
And what we don't talk about is, Canelo. Steroids.
One way responsible for the performance-enhancing drugs that are being used by fighters that fought in his gym. Specifically, off the top of my head, you have Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez had popped for clenbuterol.
The conversation around Canelo Alvarez heading into his fight with Terence Crawford is dominated by one word: steroids. For years, whispers and outright accusations have followed Canelo's career, resurfacing now with renewed intensity. Critics, including boxing legends, analysts, and even
greatest Mexican boxing fights of all time, in my opinion. Yeah. So I feel like I'm 100% confident in myself. If Canelo was 100% confident in himself, I don't know why he wouldn't fight me, especially since, seeing that everybody in his team is on steroids, which means including him, so he never got off
You think he's on steroids?
Of course. Sure. How does five?
You saw De La Hoya
How do five people out of your camp get tested positive for steroids? Right. All those fucking dudes in that camp are dirty.
And fellow fighters continue to question whether Canelo's dominance has been aided by performance-enhancing drugs. Evander Holyfield recently reignited the controversy by suggesting that fighters who test positive for PEDs should face harsher consequences, even jail time. Though Holyfield stopped short of directly accusing Canelo, his words carried weight. After all, in 2018,
Alvarez failed a drug test before his big Triple G fight in May, and he's blending Mexican cows. All right, here's the deal. 2 months until the rematch with Gennady Golovkin on May 5th is going to be the big fight, and he's been taking drug tests leading up to the fight, standard operating procedure. This time he popped for a substance called clenbuterol, which is a banned substance. As a matter of fact, it helps you cut weight. A lot of people use it illegally to cut weight while maintaining muscle mass. He is saying he did not cheat. He's not a cheater. I did not intentionally take clenbuterol. Problem is, I've been training in Mexico and eating contaminated cow beef. That's what he's saying. There's a problem apparently in Mexico where some of the cattle are being injected with clenbuterol, which helps cows. It's illegal in the United States, but some places outside the United States, even some places in the United States, will use clenbuterol to grow bigger cows, to up the protein content in the meat. And he's saying that what he had was contaminated meat because his training center is in Mexico and there's a problem with Mexican meat down there. He even issued a statement saying, quote, "I'm an athlete who respects the sport and this surprises me and bothers me because it had never happened to me. I will submit to all the tests that require me to clarify this embarrassing situation, and I trust in the end the truth will prevail." So far, the fight with Gennady Golovkin is still on. He's still dead set on making that fight.
Alvarez tested positive for clenbuterol ahead of his scheduled rematch with Gennady Golovkin. The positive test caused an uproar. Canelo blamed contaminated Mexican beef, pointing to the country's well-documented issues with cattle being injected with clenbuterol to boost protein content. He insisted, "I'm an athlete who respects the sport. I would never intentionally cheat." Still, the damage to his reputation was done. Critics haven't let it go. Floyd Mayweather, who famously defeated Canelo early in his career, has long accused the boxing world.
But what we don't talk about is, Canelo. Steroids. They don't talk about that. So we don't know. We really don't know all the fighters he beat. He could have been not clean in a lot of fights. Canelo, and the list goes on and on about athletes that's been cheating.
Been accused of cheating or been proven?
No, been proven too.
This been proven.
Yeah. Oh, with Canelo. Oh shit.
This been proven.
Lance Armstrong.
And then Canelo talking about it was the steak that it was the meat that he was eating. So okay, now you eating. I guess you eating steroid cows. Man, these boys kill me.
World of turning a blind eye to Alvarez's failed tests. In Mayweather's view, boxing protects its most marketable stars while punishing others, creating a dangerous double standard. What we don't talk about is Canelo, steroids, Mayweather said bluntly. The scrutiny doesn't stop there. David Benavidez, one of Canelo's fiercest rivals, has repeatedly...
When the greatest Canelo came out, the one that you guys seen that fought Triple G the first time, bro, dude popped dirty for clenbuterol, bro. Why do you think the second fight didn't happen? So, for me, seeing that was the best Canelo I've ever seen. But that was Canelo off of steroids. Everybody else that he fought Amir Khan, he fought Daniel Jacobs, he fought what the f is his name? Billy Joe Saunders, Caleb Plant. These guys are all weak, bro. So for me, that's why I feel like I see Canelo Alvarez and I see like he's not as good as everybody thinks. Because the best one that fought Golovkin that first time was off clenbuterol. That was the best Canelo I've ever seen, and that's why he looked so good, because he was off clenbuterol. So with the Canelo, he even got suspended for like 7 months.
So it's guaranteed he was
guaranteed he took it. He said that he ate meat that was tainted in Mexico.
Now, let me ask you that question.
I've talked to people. They said for him to test positive off a piece of meat, he would have had to eat the whole.
They accused him and his camp of being dirty. How do 5 guys from your gym test positive for steroids? Benavidez asked. That means everyone's on something, including him. This focus on Canelo's trainer, Eddie Reynoso, is impossible to ignore. Fighters connected to Reynoso's gym, Oscar Valdez, Luis Neri, Ryan Garcia, have all faced doping controversies. While not all of those incidents happened under Reynoso's watch, the sheer number of cases has
addressed serious accusations about his gym. And the accusations are that people, or at least the implications are, that he is the one that is providing performance-enhancing drugs or is in some way responsible for the performance-enhancing drugs that are being used by fighters that fought in his gym. Specifically, off the top of my head, you have Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez had popped for clenbuterol 2 times. For Fahim Satur, I'll say that he did it 2 times, even though I think it was for the same fight. But Canelo Alvarez popped dirty for clenbuterol 2 times. You have Luis Neri, who had tested positive, but I think Luis Neri tested positive before he was with Eddie Reynoso. Then you have Ryan Garcia, who popped dirty after he left Eddie Reynoso and went over to Derek James. And then you have Oscar Valdez. Oscar Valdez popped dirty while he was with Eddie Reynoso, but at the time he was still allowed to fight. You also clearly see that you have an issue with the fight that's coming up with Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, in that you have one guy that tested positive and you have another guy that looks like he's using in order to get up and continue to climb up weight classes. You know, at a certain point in time, and this is something that Rolly Romero had said, certain point in time, your body just doesn't do that. At a certain point in time, your body just doesn't do it. I'm 6'2", 200, and should weigh about 210. Closer to 250, but I should weigh about 210. I'm not gonna get up. If I was 210 now at 50 years old,
has fueled suspicions. Observers wonder whether Reynoso's camp has become synonymous with PED use. Adding fuel to the fire, many analysts have pointed to Canelo's striking physical transformation over the past decade. Gaining significant muscle mass naturally in your 30s is notoriously difficult, yet Alvarez appears bigger and stronger than ever. Joe Rogan has questioned whether such rapid changes can truly be explained by clean training alone. The timing of these allegations couldn't be more explosive. Terence Crawford is stepping up to super middleweight for the first time.
Muscle as if I'm juicing. If for a 30-year-old, right? You remember, your body grows. Men's body can grow in height and length up until to the extreme in your 20s. By the time you're 20, your height and all that stuff is there, right? Your height and your length. In your mid-20s, you know, by the time you're 29, your musculature is pretty much there. It gets harder to gain and put on muscle after 30.
Attempting to topple the undisputed king of the division. Holyfield, while praising Crawford's switch-hitting style and adaptability, hinted at the underlying concern: if Canelo was 100% confident in himself, why would he avoid certain fights? Especially when so many in his team have tested positive. Canelo's defenders argue that the beef contamination explanation was valid, and that since serving his suspension, he has tested clean under strict protocols. They point out his resume: Golovkin, Lara, Trout, Jacobs, Kovalev, Plant. Few fighters in modern history have faced such consistent elite opposition. But the doubters remain. Some believe the best version of Canelo was the one who fought Golovkin the first time.
What up, everybody? It's your boy MC from MCTV. I wouldn't be surprised if Canelo Alvarez is on steroids right now as we speak and is going to be fully juiced with something that hasn't even hit the market yet. Think about it. He's pretty much a billionaire. He has access to everything.
When he tested positive. They argue that every dominant performance since carries an asterisk. Meanwhile, confidence in Crawford is surging. His trainer Brian "Bomac" McIntyre insists they've prepared meticulously for every possible scenario. Nico "Ully" Walsh has confirmed that Crawford has been sparring with much bigger fighters to replicate Canelo's strength. Even Shaquille O'Neal has weighed in, boldly predicting that Crawford will knock Canelo out. So the question looms larger than ever: is Canelo Alvarez still benefiting from performance-enhancing drugs as he prepares to face Terence Crawford? Should past failed tests shape how we view his legacy today? For some, Canelo is a generational great whose skills, discipline, and resume speak for themselves. For others, every win is tainted until proven otherwise. And on September 13th in Las Vegas, the world may finally get an answer, inside the ring. Please like and subscribe my YouTube channel.